What's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Today we've got three massive unannounced games that have some new rumors and information surrounding them, backed up by a couple different places, and with some of them, which we'll get into, I've also heard as well. But let's start off with the hottest one here, and that is the new rumor of a 3D or new Donkey Kong game that's going to be coming to the Nintendo Switch from the Super Mario Odyssey team. Now, YouTuber Lonely Goomba has mentioned the rumor in passing on social media recently, and other sources have also discussed it. But also Nintendo Life confirms that they have heard the same rumor from an independent and very trusted source according to them, which would appear to lend to this report some degree of legitimacy. Now, however, the source claims that the game will be also 2D or 2.5D, not necessarily all 3D. So maybe you'll be playing some sections going into the screen or kind of going back out and kind of going back and forth from 2D to 3D. So it could be a hybrid type of game more so than a pure 2D type of game. Now, according to Lonely Goomba, he says this exactly. I heard an unlikely rumor that the Mario Odyssey team are working on a 3D Donkey Kong game. I think I would actually prefer that to another 3D Mario. Now, also this rumor is backed up by Zippo, so this is three separate sources at this point that says this. It's a Big Apes 40th anniversary, and while I'm not sure how Nintendo is celebrating the occasion, there is a new 2D DK game being developed by EPD Tokyo. Retro is obviously busy with other things, so Nintendo has taken it upon themselves to bring DK back in as internal series. Don't expect the country moniker to return, as EPD Tokyo are not interested in making a sequel to the games they didn't make. Diddy, Cranky, and the Kremlin crew should all be returning in this installment. It sounds like the game is launching before the end of the year, and E3 announcement seems very likely. So this is interesting to kind of gather all of this because it kind of makes sense. People have been asking about, okay, well, when's the next Odyssey game, or Super Mario Odyssey 2 or a Galaxy 3 or something along the lines of that. But as time has went by since 2017, we haven't seen anything, or we haven't gotten any word about a new 3D Mario game. And on top of that, Super Mario Odyssey is still doing very well. People are still picking up the game. And I think that if you look at what Nintendo does, they've always held Donkey Kong in a very high regard. Some of the basis of how Nintendo operates with the original Donkey Kong in the arcade, they still love this franchise and treat it as something major. And I think they want to bring it back to the heights to where Donkey Kong Returns when it comes to just sales power, right? That game sold like gangbusters on the Wii, and I think they want to bring it back up to that. Well, they're going to have to do a couple different things and new things because the 2D Donkey Kong has been perfected, in my opinion. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze very well might be the best 2D action platformer of all time. I can't think of many things wrong with that game. Beautiful music, great graphics, fantastic controls, great characters, tons of levels, lots of replay value. There is very little things wrong with that. And to be honest, it might be hard to top another DKC Tropical Freeze. So why don't you do something new? Why don't you take the team that made Odyssey, one of the best 3D platformers ever made, and say, let's try Donkey Kong with the characters and ideas and different things. And to be honest, there hasn't been a good, a truly amazing Donkey Kong 3D game. Donkey Kong 64, I know there's some people that like it, and I get it, the DK rap memes, and I get all of that, and I know some people do like it, but at the end of the day, it was just a crazy collectathon for many people, and it didn't resonate as much as Mario 64. But if the Odyssey team can take that basis of what they did and actually make it in a modern sense a lot better, I think a Donkey Kong Odyssey or a Donkey Kong 3D game on the Switch could be very successful and do a lot better than any other Donkey Kong game at this point, considering the install base of the Nintendo Switch and how there's only been one real big 3D Donkey Kong game on the N64, and they haven't really went back to it at all. They went to Donkey Konga and of course Tropical Freeze, the 2D. They've done different things, but really 3D Donkey Kong is unexplored. It'd almost be like a completely new type of IP gameplay wise for them, considering Donkey Kong 64 is so old. So I'm of the belief that this could be happening, and I do think this does follow up on what I was talking about recently in one of my previous videos about some huge big unannounced games that are going to be coming in. There's some incoming big games from Nintendo at E3. We should be hearing about this. Now, I haven't heard personally about this rumor at all, so I can't sit there and say I verified it or backed this up or anything like that, but it definitely seems kind of likely that they might want to take that up, because I know Nintendo has a fond appreciation of Donkey Kong, and they know when it comes to branding and when it comes to star power, Donkey Kong has the ability to be a 10 million unit seller, just like Luigi's Mansion or just like some of the other games that they've put out at this point on the Nintendo Switch. So I think it makes sense to kind of bring back Donkey Kong in this way, but we have to wait and see if it will actually happen. But speaking of waiting and seeing if it will actually happen, we have some more stuff that kind of follows up on another report that I did recently, backed up by something that I can say, yes, I have heard this as well, and that is Monolith Soft's unannounced games at this point. Now, according to Samus Hunter, who has been right on a number of different things when it comes to Nintendo leaks out there, he or she has talked about this more on Twitter, and it does back up some of the information that I have heard as well. So let's get into these tweets and let's talk about it here, because this is pretty big. Now, this is going to be 3 games in total. We just got done talking about the Donkey Kong game that should be coming from the Mario Odyssey team. Now we're going to talk about 2 more games from Monolith Soft. So here's what Samus Hunter had to say. I've often talked about Monolith Soft games in various comments over the course of these months, as far back as 2020, so I've decided to group the information into one post. Let's start with their main project. Yes, they are working on a new Xenoblade game. It's another one of the IPs that Nintendo wants to expand. Not surprisingly, Pyra and Mythra were included on Smash, along with a presentation showcasing their talents. Future Connected has been developed as a sort of narrative prologue to the next game. This doesn't mean that the next game will be a direct sequel, but in terms of the themes covered, it lays a foundation that will be resolved. They're also working on a new IP. Furukawa recently talked about creating new products. This project is one of them. From what I could gather, the development came about with the support of another software house. This allowed the team to work on the title during their many hires. So that is new information that I don't know about. I didn't know that somebody else is helping them develop a new IP, but it does make sense because they got help in developing Xenoblade Chronicles 2. They got outside help in terms of getting that game done. So it would make sense if they did reach out and kind of see who else could help them if they're trying to make something completely new. Now, next up, Samus Hunter says, I can't assure if this recording session is for one of the Monolith projects, but it could be. One of these 2 titles should be nearing completion if there was no delay caused by COVID. In fact, it should be within the fiscal year, originally planned for late 2021. So here's the thing with this, guys. The recording that he's talking about is what I discussed recently about the new Xenoblade game. Now, here's what I've heard that backs up a lot of this information. I have definitely heard that there is a new Xenoblade game in development and that they're targeting this year. And that recording that Yasunori Mitsuda was doing at the Bravista Symphony Orchestra, that was for a Xenoblade game. Now, we're going to have to wait and see. Still could be wrong on that, but the sources I do have do say that that's what it's going to be. Now, whether it releases in 2021, we have to completely kind of wait on that. When E3 is coming up pretty soon here, maybe we get an answer. I know that Nintendo does like to show off their Xenoblade games at Nintendo Directs, or like to show them off big at E3, so maybe it does happen. But I'm guessing with Yasunori Mitsuda on board, with Monolith Soft and also Nintendo, Smash Brothers, everything that happened with Pyra and Mythra, I'm wanting to showcase that and get that in there. The DLC with Torn of the Golden Country, them just kind of putting out more. Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, Future Connected, giving them the budget to actually add in and do extra stuff with Xenoblade that you wouldn't have seen, 10 years ago. When it comes down to it, it pretty much shows that Nintendo does have a very vast interest in trying to expand Xenoblade past what it can be. And we've seen rising sales for this franchise. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is 2 million units plus at this point, and really what they need is more of a budget and a breakthrough. That's honestly what they need, and I feel that they can get Xenoblade up into the 3 million, 4 million Fire Emblem 3 Houses type of range if they can improve on those different things there, which I think with this next Xenoblade game, with their newer updated engine and more time that they've been working on it with the main team, right? This would be the same team that did like Xenoblade Chronicles X, which that game is still the biggest game, largest game in scope when it comes to what Monolith Soft has done. I think that team is going to deliver something that could be absolutely spectacular when it comes to when we see it. So I was blown away by Xenoblade Chronicles, the original one on the Wii. Xenoblade Chronicles X blew me away. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 blew me away. Heck, even the scope and scale of Torna for an add-on blew me away because it was bigger than a lot of actual full games. So I do feel that with this new Xenoblade game, if it's a Xenoblade 3 or a Xenoblade X2, it will be the most impressive and biggest and best Xenoblade game coming up here, because I think they'll take everything from what they've learned and we get a game from that main team. And of course, Xenoblade fans will still disagree with everything when it comes down to it. You'll have two different camps, but we'll see if they can combine what people love about Xenoblade and kind of find a common ground with it. Now, when it comes to the new IP, yes, that's something that I've heard about as well. I'm kind of less sure about that because I haven't heard as many different things, but if they're working with the outside development studio in order to get a game done, it can be very similar to what we saw with, like, let's say Tokyo Mirage Sessions. Not, and it'll be similar with the game itself, but similar in terms of what Nintendo did. It was Intelligent Systems and it was also Atlas working together on something that was kind of new. It was supposed to be Fire Emblem Cross, Shin Megami Tensei, but it ended up just basically being a new IP. So it could be very similar to something like that, in my opinion, when it comes to two teams working together. Maybe it's just like a handful of Monolith Soft people or just a slice of Monolith Soft team, and then like another Japanese studio is doing the brunt of the work, maybe even a Koei Tecmo, or maybe even an Atlas or a Sega or something like that. We just don't know at this point. But here's what I do know. I love the focus that Nintendo's giving on Monolith Soft games. I love the fact that they're getting the ability to work with outside teams if this is true, and they're getting a bigger and better budget for them to make Xenoblade be more popular. I think that this is going to turn out to be very good, especially if we get something announced at E3, but we know this is happening. They haven't just been sitting idly by and not making anything. So I'm very excited to see what Monolith Soft has for us in the future. And of course, we'll see how this whole Donkey Kong from the Odyssey team plays out on the Nintendo Switch. E3 is coming up. We're about a month away, so we should get some bombshells dropped at the show. So what are your thoughts on these three unannounced games so far? Rumors in terms of things. What are you most excited for? What do you think is most likely to happen? What are your predictions for what's going on? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, peeps, that wraps it up for this video here. Check out the links in the description. We've got Twitter. Go and give us a follow on there. Stay up to date on all the latest gaming news and information. Also, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video if you can. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you for the next one. Peace.